Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Pacific 414 Episode Reviews. I am your host, Mike, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing Episode 4 of Season 2, or Chapter 12, of The Mandalorian, The Siege. Now, this episode starts off with a little recap from clips of Episode 1, Episode 8, and the reason for that is because the Mandalorian and the child are headed back to Navarro. And the reason why they're headed back to Navarro is because the Razor Crest isn't able to make it very far, whether it be in hyperspace or even sublight. Its hyperspace engines have gone down. Mando has the child, little baby Yoda, inside when the maintenance areas, and he's telling him to connect blue wire to the circuit board so they can get underway. And we see little baby Yoda inside this maintenance area, and he's holding a red wire and a blue wire, positive and negative terminals. And we all know what happens when you bring together positive and negative wires, because it's exactly what happens to baby Yoda. He gets shocked. And that's when the Mandalorian, first asks him if he's okay. And of course, the baby's okay. Because why is Disney going to kill off what right now is their cash cow? They're not going to do that. But the Mandalorian says that they're not going to make it very far, just like I said. And they end up going back to Navarro. And when they land on the surface of Navarro, they're greeted by Greef, Karga, and Cara Dune. But before we even see that, on the way to Navarro, we see some individuals, shady individuals, inside the former covenant of the Mandalorians who used to call it home. And they've stolen some goods from the folks that live there on Navarro, and little do they know that Cara Dune is wise to what's going on, and she manages to thwart their efforts and even save a little creature that was going to become lunch/dinner. And she manages to recover the loot, take out all the baddies, and even gain a new friend. But anyways, getting back to Mando and Baby Yoda being back in Navarro at the point when the Razor Crest lands, and they're greeted by Greef, Karga and Cara Dune. And also, I do want to mention that this episode was also directed by Carl Weathers, aka Greef Karga, aka Apollo Creed. You name any role that he's done, he's been around for quite some time, and he's a very good actor. But anyways, Greef Karga, Cara Dune, and the Mandalorian, along with little baby Yoda, end up going back into the one location Mando thought wouldn't be there, and that's the former hideout of the Imperials, who were there in the first and second episode of the season, and also episode 8. The guy played by Werner Herzog, who wanted to see the asset, wanted to see the baby, because also in the recap, you see from episode 2 where the doctor's there with Werner Herzog, and they're examining the baby for whatever the Empire is up to, which we find out a little bit of what they were up to in this episode. So what ends up happening is they leave Baby Yoda at the former hideout of the Empire, which has now been transformed into a school, and everything is pretty much in a better condition than what it was the last time Mando was there, as far as everything and that side of Navarro. And also what happens after Mando, Greef, Karga and Cara Dune leave the school, and the school has a protocol droid teaching the class. Well, little baby Yoda looks over at one of the students who's eating crackers or cookies, or probably cookies. So he looks over, of course, little baby Yoda's always hungry. And what does he want? He wants a cookie. And he looks at the student looks over at him, and politely tells him no. And little baby Yoda refuses to take no for an answer. So he ends up using his force powers to get the bag of cookies and eats a cookie and smiles at the student. So we end up going back where Greef Karga is the magistrate, and we find out that Cara Dune is the marshal of the town and keeping the peace. And we also see the blue alien from episode 1 of The Mandalorian, played once again by Horatio Sands for Saturday Night Live alone. And we find out that his name is Mythal, and Greef Karga says he can work off his debt for the next 300 years. And after that, we got a briefing that there's a former Imperial base, and this base should supposedly have a skeleton crew, but for some reason, the Empire hasn't abandoned it. At least the remnants of the Empire hasn't abandoned it, and they want to go eliminate this base and get weapons that are inside of it. So they formulate a plan of how they're going to do it. Next, we see they're all in a land speeder. It's Mythal, Greef Karga, Mando, and Cara Dune. They're going over the plan of what they're going to do. There's a reactor that they want to shut down at this base so they can destroy the base, but also take some weapons. So they end up getting to the base. The door is locked. They shoot a stormtrooper, and Greef Karga tells Mythal to open the door. And of course, even Cara Dune chimes in about opening the door, and Mythal says, "This thing that I have here is used for cleaning pipes." So what Mando does is Mando gets on his jetpack. He goes on the upper platform, takes out a few stormtroopers. Eventually, the door opens thanks to Mando, and Cara Dune, Mythal, and Greef Karga go into the elevator. They all meet up with Mando, and they're going through the base because they have to shut down this reactor. And they eventually get to this reactor to shut it down. They have Mythal do it. They have him go to the control, take down the barrier protecting the rest of the base from the lava below, which is also fueling the station, or the base in this case. And then what ends up happening is they start to leave. Of course, the Empire, the stormtroopers, and everyone else that's working at this base are alerted to their presence. There's a couple firefights going on, and at one point, we see Mando, Cara Dune, Greef Karga, Mythal coming down this corridor with two Imperial officers at a control panel, and there's a firefight ensuing. One of the officers yells to destroy the drives with all the information that's stored within the base, and those two guards get taken out by Mando, Greef, Mythal, and Cara Dune. And when they get to the console, they tell Mythal to purge whatever data he can get from this console. Meanwhile, they're looking at the window and they're seeing test subjects. Test subjects, which we come to find out from a recorded holo message from the doctor that we met in episode 2, who was extracting some blood from the infant baby Yoda, the child, that they are working on some sort of experiment, and unfortunately there's not enough M count, meaning midichlorians, to have a successful transfer and the experiment itself be successful because the test subjects keep rejecting it. And this doesn't sit well. Any of them, especially doesn't sit well with Mando, who. Hold on. Alright. Sorry, just getting the message, so I'm just reading that real quick and I'll get back to the review. No. Well, anyways, like I was saying, none of them like the prospects of this lab experiment because that's what the space ends up turning out to be. It is a lab and not a base. So Mando is in a hurry to get back to little baby Yoda, who's back at the school, and who can blame him? And they're all doing what they need to do to get out of the base alive. Mando gets back up to the surface, takes out several stormtroopers, uses his jetpack to rocket away. Meanwhile, Greef, Karga, Mythol, and Cara Dune are being surrounded by stormtroopers. They see a troop transport, which Mythol mentioned earlier in the episode that they really didn't want to destroy, and they could actually get a lot of credits on the black market for it. So then, what ends up happening is, they're like I said, they're surrounded, and they're trying to look for a way out. Cara Dune says that she's gonna, do whatever she can, which is go over to that troop transport. She manages to activate the troop transport, turn it on, and yells at Mythol and Greef Garga and tells them, "What are you guys waiting for? An invitation?" And Mythol and Greef Karga get into the troop transport, and they, try to get out before the doors close, and the doors end up closing. They turn around the troop transport. There's two stormtroopers shooting at them, and by they, I mean Cara Dune decides, ah, the hell with it. She goes over the ledge, and Greef Karga and Mythol don't want any part of that, but it ends up happening anyway. They go over the ledge in the troop transport, and then immediately afterwards, there's stormtroopers on speeder bikes chasing after them. A few of them are wiped out as they're going down because they hit into rocks. They go into this canyon, this cavern, and there's a pursuit in progress. And Greef Karga goes and mans the gun position, and what we see and what we also saw when Mandel took off was there were four TIE fighters. Well, these four TIE fighters take off and are in hot pursuit of the troop transport with Mythol, Cara Dune, and Greef Karga on board. And, there's a chase that ensues. Greef Karga, you know, isn't used to the controls, and you can see it on his face. You can see that he's struggling. His eyes are wide open, and he's shooting everything but the TIE fighters that are in hot pursuit. He's shooting the sides of the canyon, and the TIE fighters are dodging, and of course Cara Dune corpse, and Greef Karga says, "You want to take these controls?" It'd be what anybody would do in that situation, a situation they don't want to get themselves into, but they're into it anyway. So after Greef Karga is able to shoot down, impacts with the troop transport, causing no damage at all, but Greef Karga had to move out of the way because he didn't know that troop transport would withstand the impact and the explosion of one TIE fighter. So he ends up getting back, and there's the stormtroopers on the speeder bikes. They come alongside. One of them gets on top of the troop transport. The other comes along the right side. shoots at Cara Dune and Mythal, and Cara Dune's able to get the troop transport to speed up a little bit, and then she rams it into the side of the canyon with the stormtrooper on the speeder bike, making the ultimate sacrifice for the Empire. And Greef Karga is able to locate the stormtrooper that's on top of the troop transport and take care of him. And everybody except for 3 remaining TIE fighters are taken care of on the ground. And they see that they're very close to the finish line as far as getting back to the town that the Mandalorian landed in, and Navarro, the town that we've seen since episode 1 of The Mandalorian. And it looks like all hope is lost for our 3 heroes. Until the Razor Crest, which was under repair because Greef Karga did have 2 of his best men conducting repairs onto the Razor Crest because of all the damage. The Razor Crest comes, saves the day, blasts 1 TIE fighter, then he blasts the other TIE fighter, has a dogfight with the last remaining TIE fighter, doing all sorts of maneuvers, takes him out, and saves the day. But one of the things I did skip over, and like I've said before, I probably will end up doing this quite a bit during these reviews, so if you don't like it, then I understand if these types of reviews aren't for you. But one thing I skipped over was the fact that they find out that the Doctor from episode 2 of The Mandalorian recorded the message to Greef Karga and talked about how, the M count was low, like I said before, and he was talking to Moff Gideon. At first, they were thinking Moff Gideon's dead because they thought they defeated him. Wrong. As we all know, Moff Gideon is alive and well, and that's when they find out that Moff Gideon's alive and well. But little does Mando know is that one of the maintenance workers who helped repair the Razor Crest, well, let's just say he's working for the Empire and he put a tracker on the Razor Crest to make it easy for the Empire and Moff Gideon to find the Razor Crest. So, last we see is Moff Gideon walking into this area. It has all sorts of different items around it, and got a feeling in episode 5 of The Mandalorian, chapter 13, that we're going to be seeing a little bit more of Moff Gideon because the Empire is going to catch up to our Mandalorian friend. Now, will we see Ahsoka Tano in the next episode? That remains to be seen. Are they just going to mention her in episode 3, and then we might have to wait till episode 6, 7, or 8 before we finally see her? Who knows? But we do know that there's going to be some sort of confrontation between Moff Gideon and Mando, or Din Djarin. So, that's pretty much my reaction to the episode, my overview of the episode. Yes, I skip parts. I'm always going to skip some parts because I don't want to spoil the entire episode for people who haven't watched it. I want to leave something there for people to go watch for themselves. This way, when they see something, they go, oh, that guy briefly touched up on it, or he didn't mention that. I don't want to spoil everything. So, what I think of this episode, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that it still shows Cara Dune being a badass. It shows that Greef Karga is taking responsibility for being a leader in this town, being a good role model for the kids. And, that town's on the up and up. And he comes out point blank saying what he wants in the episode when he's talking to Mando or Din Djarin about the Imperial base that they thought had a skeleton crew. Turned out that it was a lab. and they were working on experiments. He wants a peaceful Navarro. He wants Navarro to be a place where people can come and do trades and know that when they get there, they're not going to run into any issues. So, what did I think of this episode overall? It was a great episode, like I said. I really enjoyed it. I know I'm repeating myself, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that Cara Dune was shown as a badass, that Greef Karga, played by Carl Weathers, you know, it is a great character. And we also got to learn a little bit about Horatio Sands' character, Lythal, and how he's working off his debt, and Greef Karga is holding him to be a responsible individual. And, it just shows once again that for right now, The Mandalorian is the best thing going for Disney. You could say that The Force Awakens was good. It was good in some parts, but, there were a lot of parts that were a rehash of A New Hope and, Empire and even Return of the Jedi. And, of course, Last Jedi, I liked it in my initial viewing. I'll admit, I liked it in my initial viewing, but watching it over again, I don't like it as much. There are still some parts that I like. There are parts that I don't like, and The Rise of Skywalker, I think that could have been executed a little bit better. I'm not saying I could have done it any better than what we got. Maybe I could have. Maybe I couldn't have done any better. I really don't want to speculate, but as far as the Disney era Star Wars is concerned, there are only two things that I've really enjoyed that I can actually go back and watch and get enjoyment out of it instead of shaking my head, rolling my eyes. And that's Rogue One and now The Mandalorian. Even though, like I said, there are parts of, you know, The Last Jedi I can watch and like, and there are parts of The Force Awakens that I like, and there are parts of Rise of Skywalker I do like, but they're few and far between, and until Disney can figure out what the heck they're going to be doing with this show, you know, where exactly they're going to take it. The Mandalorian's the best thing coming. I just hope that it's not ruined unnecessarily, but that remains to be seen. Here we are. We're officially 12 episodes in. We've got 4 more episodes to go. So we'll see how this season ends. I mean, if I'm still going to do my comparison between Star Trek Discovery and Mandalorian, Star Trek Discovery is down here, while Mandalorian is up here. So that is just my opinion. Everybody has an opinion. We all have heard the expression, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got them. Well, if you don't like my opinion, then you might consider me an asshole. I don't know. But that is my opinion. I do enjoy this series more than I enjoy other series. I did enjoy this episode just like I enjoyed last week's episode, The Heiress. And can't wait to see what happens next Friday on The Mandalorian. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Hope you all enjoyed what you saw. For anyone who is new here and saw this for the first time, thank you for watching. I do apologize for the stream buffering at times. I've tried to get OBS to cooperate, but so far this is the end result. Hopefully at 9 o'clock tonight on Twitch, Friday Night Frontiers goes smooth. We shall see. But until 9 o'clock tonight on Twitch with Friday Night Frontiers with myself and TKO, this has been Mike for PACIFIC414 episode reviews. I'm going to sign off, but before I sign off, I'm going to ask that if you'd like, Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or if you're watching this on the Twitch channel, give it a follow. If you're watching this on the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel, subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. You know, share. Let's create a community, like I've been saying, especially the last several episodes of PACIFIC414 episode review. That's what I want to build here. I want to build a community where you may not like everything that's on this channel, but maybe there's something that you like. Maybe I upload a video that you like and you think, well, maybe for that reason I'll subscribe to this channel or follow this channel in this case. Whether, it's the baseball season and I'm doing the box score, giving you my Cubs recaps, doing the box score mound visit, which once there's more activity in the off season, I'll probably do an episode of the mound visit. And yes, I am going to add this into the episode review just because, this is my channel. I might end up bringing something up from another thing I do on this channel. But yes, it wasn't too much of a surprise with Theo Epstein stepping down as president of baseball operations for the Cubs. If you read any Chicago sports news, Cubs related news, you start getting an indication by reading that. Excuse me. Gonna take a sip of water here. But anyhow, you start to get an indication by reading the sports news out of Chicago from all the different sports writers that things between Theo Epstein and the Cubs were starting on the downslide. And a lot of that probably has to do with ownership not wanting to spend a whole lot of money because they overspent when it came to the renovations for not just Wrigley Field, but the neighborhood surrounding Wrigley Field. So now, a lot of things are going to happen once we have more details as far as what the Cubs and any other baseball team are going to end up doing. I will end up doing an episode of the box score mound visit. But as far as PACIFIC414 episode reviews are concerned, since I have started it on Twitch as well as the YouTube channel, and I did so because a few weeks ago YouTube terminated my channel by mistake, according to them. I started doing PACIFIC414 episode review on my Twitch channel as well. After that happened, I'm going to continue to do it for the foreseeable future, or at least until The Mandalorian and Star Trek Discovery are completed. Then, after that happens, I may end up switching it back to strictly the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel. So that's another reason why I ask that if you subscribe to the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel, it's because I don't want to leave anyone out. I want anyone who likes this content, anyone, anywhere, who just wants to watch somebody, run their mouth for a while they're in front of a mic, in front of a camera, to actually come here and enjoy what they see, because I'm not going to discriminate. I welcome all viewers. That's why I say welcome one and all. I don't care if I get one view on a video or if I get 4, 5 views on a video or more. I welcome one and all to the Twitch channel. I welcome one and all to the YouTube channel. I know during Friday Night Frontiers, TKO and myself, we don't hold back, but that's also part of what Friday Night Frontiers is about. It's about us as fans of these franchises letting our opinions be known about what's currently going on with any particular series, whether it be Star Trek, The Mandalorian, or Doctor Who, whatever. We are going to say how we feel about it. It's our opinions, no one else. Just like when I'm doing these reviews, it's my opinion, no one else. Doing a reaction to a Cub game, my reaction, no one else. So if you like an honest reaction, which is what I've always intended the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel to be, any video I do where I'm in it, that it's honest and straightforward. Well, if you like that type of content, then maybe this is the channel for you. I mean, yeah, you're going to see some other content on the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel that's already there, and it's not going to be removed, and it's mainly gameplay videos that I've done, and also my Kane Return reaction from 2011. Now, I do want to let you know, I am starting up PACIFIC414 and so much more channel on YouTube, where in the future I will be putting any and all gameplay videos on that channel, with the exception being Friday Night Frontiers. I will put episodes of Friday Night Frontiers probably a couple weeks after we've originally done them on the Twitch channel over to the YouTube channel. So look forward to that. And I'm always looking for feedback on any videos I do, any live streams that I do, just because I want to know what everybody likes. I want to know what they dislike. And, if you have any tips or tricks, I greatly appreciate it. I mean, I've been doing this for over a year now, a year steadily, because I started doing the box score last year, and of course then it transitioned to this year. And a year ago there was that whole Copa thing and YouTube, and I originally deactivated the channel, and then I reactivated it. So right now it's about trying to do whatever I can to put up good content that people enjoy, and also gain any subscribers that I can gain. So, like I said, if you like what you saw here, thank you very much. If I ramble on too long, mention in the comments. Tell me to get on top. But until tonight at 9 o'clock on the Twitch channel for Friday Night Frontiers, this has been Mike for PACIFIC414 episode reviews. Once again, if you would like, you don't have to, but if you would like, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And as always, take care, and I will see any of you, perhaps all of you, at 9 o'clock tonight on the Twitch channel for PACIFIC414 episode reviews. Thank you all for watching, and once again, take care.